Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the life you are living is the life you have been rehearsing every day through your choices, your habits, and your thoughts, not the life you hoped for, not the life you talked about, but the life you silently practiced. That realization can be uncomfortable, but it can also be liberating. Because if your current life was built one decision at a time, then a better one can be built the same way. Most people wait for a breakthrough moment, a crisis, a push, a sign that tells them it's finally time to change. But what if that moment is right now? What if the quiet dissatisfaction you feel is not a problem, but an invitation to pause, to reflect, and to ask yourself an honest question. Am I becoming the person my future requires? Rebuilding yourself does not begin with noise or applause. It begins with awareness. It begins when you admit that comfort has been costing you more than effort ever would. It begins when you understand that you don't need a new life, you need a new direction. Tonight is not about fixing what is broken. It is about strengthening what is possible. Because no matter where you are starting from, the most important project you will ever work on is not out there in the world. It is the person you are becoming. Personal responsibility is the foundation of rebuilding yourself because it is the moment you reclaim control over your life. It means recognizing that, regardless of how you arrived at your current situation, what happens next is largely up to you. Life can be unfair. Circumstances can be limiting, and people can disappoint you, but none of these factors have the final say unless you allow them to. The moment you accept responsibility, you stop waiting for rescue and start becoming the builder of your own future. This shift is powerful because it moves you from a passive role into an active one where choices matter more than conditions. Many people unknowingly give away their power by blaming the economy, their upbringing, their past failures, or other people for where they are today. While these influences are real, focusing on them keeps you stuck. Responsibility does not mean denying reality or pretending obstacles do not exist. It means acknowledging them without letting them define you. When you say, "This is my life, and I am responsible for improving it," you instantly create space for growth. Blame looks backward, but responsibility looks forward. And rebuilding yourself is always a forward-looking decision. Taking responsibility also changes how you see problems. Instead of asking why something happened to you, you begin asking what it is trying to teach you. Challenges become feedback rather than punishment. Every setback becomes an opportunity to develop skills, discipline, patience, or resilience. This mindset transforms difficulties into tools for personal development. When you own your results, you also own your ability to change them, and that realization alone can reignite motivation and self-belief. Personal responsibility requires honesty, especially with yourself. It means admitting when you have been inconsistent, distracted, or unwilling to do the hard work. This honesty is not meant to produce guilt, but clarity. Clarity allows you to identify what habits need to change, what skills need to be learned, and what standards need to be raised. Without responsibility, self-improvement becomes wishful thinking. With it, progress becomes measurable and intentional. As you practice responsibility daily, confidence naturally grows. Every kept promise, every disciplined action, and every choice aligned with growth reinforces your belief in yourself. You stop seeing your life as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something you actively shape. This is why personal responsibility is not a burden but a privilege. It is the doorway through which rebuilding yourself becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Identity before results means understanding that lasting change does not begin with what you achieve, but with who you decide to become. Most people chase outcomes first: more money, better health, recognition, confidence, believing these results will transform how they feel about themselves. In reality, results are simply a reflection of identity in action. Your habits, decisions, and reactions flow naturally from the way you see yourself. If that self-image remains unchanged, any improvement in results will be temporary and fragile. When you focus on identity, you shift from asking, "What do I want?" to asking, "Who must I become to deserve what I want?" This is a far more powerful question because it demands personal growth rather than shortcuts. A person who sees themselves as disciplined will naturally make disciplined choices. A person who identifies as a learner will seek knowledge even when it is uncomfortable. Results follow effortlessly when behavior is aligned with identity. but they are exhausting to maintain when they are not. Many people sabotage their progress because their identity lags behind their goals. They may experience brief success, but internally they still see themselves as unqualified, inconsistent, or undeserving. This inner conflict eventually pulls them back to familiar patterns. Rebuilding yourself requires upgrading the internal narrative first. You are not trying to get motivated, you are redefining who you are. When your self-concept changes, motivation becomes less necessary because actions feel natural rather than forced. Identity is shaped by repeated choices. Every small action is a vote for the type of person you are becoming. When you consistently act in alignment with growth, integrity, and discipline, your identity slowly solidifies around those traits. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. One dramatic effort may produce attention, but steady behavior produces transformation. Over time, you stop saying I am trying and start saying this is who I am. Focusing on identity also builds resilience. When setbacks occur, they no longer threaten your self-worth. Failure becomes feedback rather than proof of inadequacy. You do not quit because quitting no longer aligns with who you believe yourself to be. This internal stability allows you to persist longer, learn faster, and adapt more effectively. Rebuilding yourself through identity is an inward investment that pays outward dividends. When you become the kind of person who values growth, discipline, and responsibility, success is no longer something you chase. It becomes the natural byproduct of who you are choosing to be every day. Daily disciplines matter because life is rarely changed by one dramatic decision. It is shaped by the small actions repeated day after day. People often wait for motivation, inspiration, or the perfect moment to begin improving themselves. But real progress is built on routine rather than emotion. Disciplines work even when motivation fades. They create structure, and structure creates momentum. When you commit to simple, positive actions every day, you quietly begin rebuilding your life from the ground up. Small habits may seem insignificant in the moment, but they carry enormous long-term weight. Reading a few pages, exercising briefly, thinking intentionally, or practicing a skill for a short time may not feel transformative today. Yet these actions compound. Just as small financial investments grow through interest, daily disciplines grow through consistency. Over time, the results become visible not because each action was impressive, but because none were skipped. What feels ordinary on a daily basis becomes extraordinary over years. Daily disciplines also strengthen self-trust. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it is inconvenient, you reinforce your belief in yourself. Confidence is not built through affirmations alone. It is built through evidence. Discipline, actions provide that evidence. You begin to see yourself as reliable, capable, and in control. This internal shift makes larger challenges feel manageable because you have proven repeatedly that you can follow through. Another powerful effect of daily discipline is direction. Without consistent habits, life becomes reactive, driven by circumstances and moods. Disciplines create intention. They ensure that, regardless of what the day brings, you are moving slightly closer to the person you want to become. Even on difficult days, small positive actions prevent regression. Progress may be slow, but it remains steady, and steady progress always outpaces sporadic effort. Discipline also simplifies decision-making. When habits are established, you no longer debate whether to act. The action becomes automatic. This conserves mental energy and reduces procrastination. Instead of relying on willpower, you rely on systems. These systems quietly protect your goals and keep you aligned with your values. Rebuilding yourself through daily disciplines is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Missed days can happen, but quitting cannot become a habit. When small, constructive actions become part of your daily rhythm, they reshape your character, elevate your standards, and steadily build the life you once thought required dramatic change. Letting go to grow is one of the most challenging yet necessary parts of rebuilding yourself because growth and attachment rarely coexist. Many people attempt to improve their lives while holding tightly to the same habits, beliefs, and environments that created their current results. This creates internal resistance. You cannot step into a new version of yourself while clinging to patterns that belong to an older one. Rebuilding requires space, and space is created by release. Letting go often begins with outdated beliefs. These are the quiet assumptions you carry about who you are, what you deserve, and what is possible for you. Beliefs formed from past failures, criticism, or limited experiences can quietly dictate your decisions. Even when opportunities appear, these beliefs can cause hesitation or self-sabotage. Releasing them does not mean denying the past. It means refusing to let it control the future. Growth demands that you question thoughts that no longer serve the person you are becoming. Habits also play a major role in what must be released. Some habits provide comfort but cost progress. They may offer temporary relief, distraction, or familiarity, yet they drain time, energy, and focus. Letting go of these habits can feel uncomfortable because they once helped you cope. However, comfort and growth rarely travel together. Rebuilding yourself means choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term ease, even when the old habits feel familiar and safe. Environment is another powerful factor. The people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, and the standards you tolerate all influence your growth. Some relationships reinforce limitations rather than potential. Letting go does not always mean cutting people off. Sometimes it means changing proximity, boundaries, or expectations. Growth requires an environment that challenges you to rise, not one that rewards stagnation. Letting go also involves releasing excuses. Excuses protect the ego, but imprison progress. They explain why you cannot change, why the timing is wrong, or why effort is unnecessary. While they may sound reasonable, they quietly keep you in the same place. Rebuilding yourself means trading justification for responsibility and comfort for commitment. Although letting go can feel like loss, it is actually an act of trust. You are trusting that what lies ahead is more valuable than what you are leaving behind. Growth begins when you loosen your grip on what was and create room for what can be. Time is a non-renewable resource, and recognizing this truth changes how you approach rebuilding yourself. Money can be earned again, opportunities can return, and mistakes can be corrected. But time moves in only one direction. Every day that passes is permanently spent, whether it was used wisely or wasted carelessly. When you understand this, you begin to see time not as something to fill, but as something to invest with intention. Most people underestimate the power of a single day because its impact feels small. One day seems harmless to waste, yet days quietly accumulate into weeks, months, and years. The direction of your life is determined less by major events and more by how you repeatedly use ordinary days. When time is treated casually, life becomes reactive and unfocused. When time is respected, priorities sharpen and progress becomes inevitable. Using time effectively does not mean filling every moment with activity. It means choosing what deserves your attention and what does not. Distractions are costly because they consume time without producing growth. Mindless routines, excessive consumption, and constant busyness create the illusion of movement while keeping you in the same place. Rebuilding yourself requires awareness of where your hours go and whether those hours are aligned with the person you want to become. Time management is ultimately self-management. How you schedule your day reflects what you value. When personal growth, learning, health, and reflection are intentionally given space, they begin to shape your future. Even short, focused periods of effort can create significant change when used consistently. The key is not the amount of time available, but how deliberately it is used. Respecting time also encourages patience. Since meaningful change takes time, you stop looking for quick results and start trusting the process. You become willing to plant seeds without immediate reward, knowing that progress compounds. This mindset reduces frustration and increases persistence because you understand that growth unfolds gradually. When you truly grasp that time is life itself, your decisions become clearer. You guard your schedule, reduce unnecessary commitments, and invest your energy where it matters most. Rebuilding yourself is not about racing against time, but about honoring it by using each day as a building block for the future you are creating. Growth being an inside job means that meaningful change always begins internally before it ever appears in the external world. Many people focus their energy on changing circumstances, believing that better conditions will create happiness, confidence, or fulfillment. They chase new positions, possessions, or recognition only to discover that the same frustrations follow them. This happens because external change without internal development is temporary. The inner world shapes perception, decisions, and behavior, and those elements ultimately determine results. Internal growth starts with mindset, the way you interpret events, respond to challenges, and talk to yourself influences everything you do. Two people can face the same situation and experience completely different outcomes based on how they think about it. When your mindset is grounded in growth, responsibility, and possibility, setbacks become lessons rather than limitations. This internal perspective quietly directs your actions even when no one is watching. Emotional maturity is another part of internal growth. Learning to manage emotions rather than be controlled by them allows you to act with intention instead of impulse. Fear, frustration, and doubt do not disappear, but they no longer dictate behavior. You gain the ability to pause, reflect, and choose responses aligned with long-term goals. This inner stability creates consistency, which is essential for rebuilding yourself. Internal growth also involves values and standards. What you tolerate internally becomes what you accept externally. When you raise your standards for effort, honesty, and discipline, your actions naturally rise to meet them. This process does not require approval or validation from others. It is driven by a personal commitment to become better than you were yesterday. As inner growth continues, external results begin to change naturally. Confidence increases because it is rooted in competence and self-respect. Opportunities appear because you are prepared to recognize and act on them. Relationships improve because you communicate more clearly and respond more thoughtfully. These outcomes are not forced, they are the byproduct of internal alignment. Understanding that growth is an inside job removes the need to wait for perfect circumstances. You realize that improvement can begin immediately, regardless of environment or conditions. By investing in your thoughts, emotions, skills, and character, you create a foundation that supports lasting success and personal fulfillment. As we come to the end of this message, remember that rebuilding yourself is not a one-time decision, but a lifelong commitment. It is the quiet choice to take responsibility, to grow from the inside, to use time wisely, and to practice small disciplines even when no one is watching. It is the courage to let go of what no longer serves you and the patience to become who your future demands. You do not need to be perfect to begin, and you do not need to see the entire path to take the next step. Every effort you make toward growth, no matter how small, is shaping a stronger version of you. When you choose to rebuild yourself, you choose progress over excuses, purpose over comfort, and possibility over limitation. The life you want is not waiting somewhere ahead of you. It is being built by the person you decide to be today. I wish each one of you the courage to start, the discipline to continue, and the belief to stay the course. Good luck on your journey of growth and self-development. And thank you for your time, your attention, and the opportunity to share this message with you.